Three.
You're live.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. Well, we're back, actually, me and Annemarie. So we're back. Hi there. Trace Pacheco Medeiros here with, of course, the no fun lady, Annemarie Matulis. Did you miss us? Here on the East Coast, we hope you're taking a brief lunchtime break with us. On the West Coast, enjoy your morning coffee with us. We just wanted to spend a little time with you sharing some of the reasons we are both grateful that we found a life worth living that wasn't always how we felt for very different reasons. And to remind myself, assuming not everyone seeing this knows, that I am a suicide attempt survivor. Emery?
Hi, everybody. Annemarie Matulis. I am here briefly. I have this funny thing that's happened to my voice that I try to avoid, and so I don't end up sounding like Alvin the Chipmunk, as Tracy has managed to mimic very well over the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to welcome you all. I hope you'll enjoy this little bit of sharing. We plan on doing more of them. And I think I'm going to leave it at that and turn it back over to Tracy for right now.
Thank you, Emery. Hey, everyone. I know this is a pretty hectic day for many and an uncomfortable one for others as they watch the hustle and bustle around them and all the talk about getting together with families. Emery, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Listening warning. Having some issues with speech and vocal cords, so it may sound a little weird now and then. Um, uh, wait, wait a minute. So, flashback. Wait a minute. Emery, you're supposed to share.
Oh,
I
keep
can't hear.
going. Keep going, hon. I
Keep
don't
going.
want to use I don't want to use my voice.
Oh, you don't.
No, go
Oh,
ahead.
all right. So, okay. So the listening warning, having some issues with the speech and vocal cords, so it may sound a little weird now and then. So, over the years of working within public health, people have heard me share that I am a strong proponent of daily, sometimes hourly gratitude lists. My lived experience background began with domestic violence. In those early days, stumbling through life, trying to figure out who I was and no idea how it would work out. A wonderful old woman whispered in my ear and said, "Sunshine, you don't live there anymore." And that was the beginning of a daily moments of gratitude. I just kept repeating, "I don't live there anymore." That's Anne Marie. This is me. So flashback plus flashback to 20 years plus. Um, I was in the darkest moment of my life. I saw no hope of things getting better. The eternal pain was beyond what I could take anymore. I believed I was a failure. Everyone would be better off without me. I went to my father's grave, curled up, and waited to die. I lost consciousness, but I didn't die. The police found me. I was taken to the hospital where they were able to resuscitate me. And while that was my last suicide attempt, and I did realize I did not want to die. I did not immediately make that choice to live either, and I am so glad that I stayed.
Trace, I'll step in for this one, I think, all right?
Okay.
So I was terrified to go to sleep for 2 years, terrified of more violence. I would keep repeating what I was told. I don't live there anymore. I was able to wear clothes I wanted to wear, and that may sound strange to some of you, but if you've been in a domestic violence situation, it's not. I would style my hair the way I wanted to. Now, not all those choices of either actions was well thought out at all. So sometimes I really had to. There really was. There was a point where my hair entered the room before I did. Not really a good look, but it was something I had never been allowed to do, and that's an important freedom. And one of the things that Tracy and I hope to bring here today is that because she stayed and because I left, we both found lives worth living. Um, I added a new item to the gratitude list. I would repeat, I am free. And what a gift that is. Sometimes I would say it and laugh, and sometimes I would say it and cry. But I was always overcome with gratitude that I had a second chance at living life. Trace?
So fast forward to August 2018, sitting on my motorcycle, anxiously excited to capture a once in a lifetime moment, to ride the tail of the dragon. For motorcyclists, it's the Boston Marathon and the Tour de France, all rolled into one. And that was because I stayed. My heart was beating hard, but with excitement, not fear. The scenery was spectacular. The Smoky Mountains, perfect deep blue summer sky, mixed into the excitement was some anxiety. I had watched the YouTube videos, but this was the real deal. My head was filled with guidance given to me by my team, all season riders. Ride your ride, ignore the others, right turn, hug it, left turn, stay in the center of the road to leave room to corner better, downshift, don't brake, curves come up unexpectedly fast, speed limits change quickly, be alert, and breathe. This was it, the tail of the dragon, Dale's Gap, North Carolina on the Tennessee border. 318 switchback S curves within 11 miles on a motorcycle. Lyrics from the rapper Eminem, Academy Awards winning original song Lose Yourself, from the movie 8 Mile, were stuck in my head. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Because I stayed on this day, on this mountain, I will capture it. I kept repeating, I can do this, and then heard the kickstands up command. Because I stayed, I am creating a life worth living, a life I never believed possible on that dark day more than 20 years ago. Annemarie, are you sharing? No? Everything about that ride reflects my healing path from those days, weeks, months, and years of mental and emotional darkness. After surviving my last suicide attempt up to today, could I identify 318 switchback S curves in my healing path throughout these past 20 years? I could easily triple or quadruple it. A switchback S turn for every week would be 1,040 sudden sharp turns. Those first 3 years after that attempt, I tried to ride my ride through life, but it was like trying to navigate road construction. There might be some smooth sections, but then out of nowhere, I hit an area that was grooved, dangerous to ride, and could be deadly. I experienced long stretches of emotional darkness, still feeling less than everyone, not good enough. My moods were like a bad roller coaster ride. I wondered if I would ever feel better. There were moments, but they never lasted because I stayed. Annemarie invited me to help set up a grassroots community based coalition to focus on violence prevention. Being involved in community events and activities, attended workshops, helping to support those in need, helped pull me out of the dark, depressive times. Because I stayed, we added a suicide prevention coalition to our family and hosted our first International Loss Survivors Day. Our guest speaker, Rosie, began to share her story of losing her son, Adam, to suicide. I had heard loss survivors share at our state conference a few months earlier, but it was hard to listen. This time, I heard every word. It was like the world stopped. I could barely breathe. My heart was racing, and I could feel the tears building up. I was filled with sadness and horror that I almost did this, brought this pain to my family. I found my turning point. It took almost 10 years, and let me be very, very clear about the incredible value about sharing our lived experience stories. A suicide loss survivor spoke from her heart and reached in and grabbed mine. She saved my life. Kickstands up. Several months later, I stood on the edge of the Grand Canyon in awe that I have lived to experience its breathtaking beauty up close and personal. Because I stayed, I went back to school to complete my degree in psychology, was offered a position as a peer specialist at a local behavioral health agency, sharing my lived experience, including my suicide attempt with others who had mental health concerns. In the Regional Suicide Prevention Coalition I volunteered with presented me with a leadership award for the work I was doing with peer support on the job and in the community. Right turn, hug it. Annemarie asked me to help her develop a peer-to-peer self-care workshop for attempt survivors further along the healing path. She was working on a documentary, a call to action to welcome attempt survivors to all the tables related to suicide prevention. I wanted no part of either project. I felt totally inadequate. She was relentless, insisting that my voice, my experience was exactly what others needed to hear. So I moved into the center of the road and agreed to participate in both projects and began to feel better emotionally. A local college asked for a panel of speakers for a suicide prevention event. Because I stayed, for the first time in my life, I stood at a public podium and introduced myself as a suicide attempt survivor. Because I stayed, sharp curve. My mom's health got worse. I sat there with her in the hospital and held her hand. Our relationship had not been easy, but as I sat there, I was able to let go of all the anger and felt peace in forgiving her. I knew that she loved me. She passed that night. I cannot stress the importance of making peace, of the need to forgive ourselves and others as we struggle to heal and get well. And hell broke loose. Breast cancer, double mastectomy, chemo, aggressive radiation, and a life-threatening blood infection. Suicide was not an option. I sat quietly one morning and heard myself say, "Don't sweat the small stuff. Ride your ride." Because I stayed, one night after chemo, I stuck my head into the suicide loss survivors grief support session to say hello. They asked me about my story, so I shared it. And the rest, you might say, is history. We ended up with what we call a blended hearts table, attempt and loss survivors further along the healing path at the table together. I had no idea how much we all had in common with the day to day living stuff. And we can only learn that by sitting together, talking about the same topics and issues. Kickstands up. A group of seasoned riders helped guide me to take the challenge of the dragon. A group of peers came to the Blended Hearts table to take on a challenge of choosing life and to assure continued emotional wellness, not just for me, but for all of us. We are connected because I stayed. Had I not listened to a lost survivor share her story, I might not have found my turning point and made a choice for life. I would not have experienced the joy of riding in the wind on my motorcycle or seeing the Grand Canyon or continuing to have an active role in the lives of my stepchildren and my grandchildren, or visited the homes of Jesse James and Billy the Kid, or been a part of an honor guard with my friends for moving the wall to honor the Vietnam vets. My gratitude list for a second chance at life is endless. As I came down the dragon, I had to fight back the tears. When I completed the last switchback turn and pulled up beside my team, I screamed as loud as I could. I did it because I stayed. I was able to publish a memoir in 2017, Embracing Imperfection, and now have a second book coming out in December. I was able to travel to Northern Ireland and present those workshops I told you about. That was a gift. Because I stayed, this past June, I graduated cum laude with a BA in psychology and a concentration in addictions. Because I stayed, I was able to hold another grandchild in my arms, just 6 weeks old. Because I stayed, I found a life worth living. I don't know if any of you have read Jane Goodall's Reason for Hope. Well, after years of being told that I might consider reading it, I finally did. Goodall reflects on a story she read in her childhood about a smaller bird riding on the back of an eagle tucked inside its feathers, and that she too had done that through her life. That each feather represents people who had helped her along the way. I so identified that. She went on to write that her eagle symbolizes the great spiritual power that supports us when our commitment and determination are put to the test. And that this spirit and all the people that the feathers represent can help us gain strength and new energy when we are at our most exhausted. I am a suicide attempt survivor. I found my turning path. Because I stayed, the eagle's feather have lifted me into a grateful, resilient state of mind. Similar to the tale of the dragon, recovering from suicide attempt has been a very difficult and sometimes frightening ride, but worth every scary curve. I choose life, and because I stayed, I got to do this. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Trace. So I hope you found some soul care in that today. Um, we wanted to have this little brief conversation with you. We know, as Tracy said, we all know how crazy and busy the day before Thanksgiving is, whether you celebrate it or not, in whatever way. But I do hope that our conversation, and Tracy's sharing, will give you a little touch of soul care. Maybe rethink doing a gratitude list every day. I haven't stopped, by the way, in well over 38 years because I'm convinced that that little old lady that I mentioned who whispered in my ear would smack me if she could reach down from the heaven I know she's in. Um, so thank you for joining us today. We will be back. We promise you that. Whether you want to see us or not, we will be back. um, and I want to leave you with a quote that both Tracy and I have come to really love and enjoy, because it has such meaning to both of us from very different perspectives. I would not be here had I not left. I have no doubt about that. That I would never have survived. I can't. I can't express ever how grateful I am that I was able to escape. Tracy wouldn't be here had she not made a conscious decision to stay. Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy had a beautiful little quote, and I'm not going to even attempt to paraphrase the whole thing, but it's pretty much birds do sing after the storm, and we all hear it. We see the rainbow, we hear the birds singing. And so her thought with all the tragedy in her personal life was, we can do that too. And why shouldn't we? With that, we'll say goodbye. We'll catch up with you soon. Don't overeat, but enjoy, said the no fun lady. All right.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Bye.